Welcome to In Focus with Eden Lane.
Later we'll go to the Denver Center Theatere Company for my visit with Lloyd Suh, the playwright of The Great Wall, now playing at the Denver Center Theatere Company. We'll also make a visit to the Cherry Creek Shopping Center for the World of Wicked exhibit. We'll get a walkthrough and find out about the Passport to Oz in advance of Wicked returning to Denver. But we begin tonight at the Arvada Center for Chess, a musical. We learned how they reimagined this rock opera from the creative team. Rod Lansberry, the director, David Nils, the musical director, and choreographer Kitty Skillman-Hisselbeck. Chess at the Arvada Center isn't going to be the chess that everyone thinks they know if they have become familiar with the albums or the Broadway production. So tell us first, how did you even choose this for this part of the season? And then we'll talk about the changes you've made.
Chess, for our season, it's been a piece that I've wanted to do for a long time.
Why?
Because I was in that era in the 80s when it first came out. And everybody, I've run into so many audience members who I hear the same thing. I have that, well, of course they never say CD because that was even before the CD. I had that cassette, I had that album. And it was so popular everywhere because it originally started as a concept album only and then progressed in '86 to the London version. And then in '88 went to the New York version.
Which had huge changes
completely
in each iteration.
That's correct.
Musically, the order of the story,
they
all
tried
of
to Americanize it and have helped the American audience understand it better. And they are very forthright in admitting that they made a lot of mistakes in doing that.
So is that why you chose to have as your starting point the London version?
Correct. And working with that, and since the '88 American version, it has been continually done almost on a yearly basis somewhere, in a concert version, in a revamped version. The most recent was the Royal Albert Hall version that Tim Rice worked on, combining again the different versions that have occurred. Pieces have been moved, songs have been moved, cut, added. So compiling all of those different versions to create and help strengthen the story really was my goal, and that was the challenge.
Every time I've seen it, it has been different. And you've made it different yet again.
Yes.
So when you approached it musically and for the choreography, since the story was going to be a little different, did you borrow from influences from previous notable productions? Either of you?
Well, I've only seen a concert version before. That's my only knowledge of it besides having the 8-track. Did have the
Good for you.
Yes, and it stopped in the middle of Nobody's on Nobody's Side and moved to the next track. Always upset me. But, you know, no.
Is that why that happens in the show?
Yes, it does. It's a weird little hiccup, isn't it? Now, in the musicality of it, what I actually did was I went back to my roots of being a classically trained pianist, but also a rock and roll pianist. And I decided to create a new concept, which I don't know how new it comes across to the audience, but for us it is a rock band versus a string quartet. So what I actually did was stop listening to any other influence. I stopped listening to the concept album, to the Royal Albert Hall stuff, any of the other recordings, and tried to come up with our own interpretation of the music.
I think you were successful at meeting that goal. When I got to sit in the performance last night, I expected it to be very synthesized, as I have seen many smaller theaters do, and it felt very much like a rock band with real live classical musicians on stage.
That makes me
well.
very happy. Thank you. Because in fact, I was playing with doing some synth patches, and all during our rehearsals with the orchestra, and early on in tech, I would try something and it just wouldn't work. It just sounded weird.
You would have lost that sense of live musicians in the space with the actors. Now, as a choreographer, there was a huge canon that you could have looked at when you mounted this of other versions on YouTube, et cetera. Where did you begin your research for this piece?
Well, first Rod came to me and said, I think I want this a little dancier than I thought originally, so because it wasn't going to be as much. And then all of a sudden, it was like, let's look at some new ways to approach this and a little more abstract. And I do look at stuff on video and on YouTube and stuff, not to copy by any means, but I just think when things have been done, especially when they've done so many variations on it and they feel it hasn't worked, to know why it hasn't worked and to look
learn
at
those
that
lessons.
and to learn. So I use that as information to gather of like what I don't want to do or what I think fails in this type of production. And so then I get ideas, and then Rod and and all of us, we keep having production meetings and kind of directing which way that's going to go.
That's something we see here at the Arvada Center, that you're very collaborative as a team. You get the chance to work together quite often.
We do.
When you were starting your vernacular for this piece, it seems as though there might have been some influences of modern dance, sort of Graham-esque.
That's my
kind
background.
of.
I was in a Graham company first, and
But it's not that
Beaver, I
literal.
was in it.
It sort of hints at that, but it's not
Right.
so formal.
Well, and you also have musical theater dancers. Some of them have had modern, and some of them you're working towards that. So you find that fine line, and also you don't want to get so abstract that you lose the audience. You really want to push the story forward. So it's using all those elements and trying to. But I think the earthier movement works well for this.
I noticed that in the dance and in just the blocking, you have to acknowledge the fact that we're talking about chess and we're on a chessboard, but you didn't seem to be so locked into that, so committed to that you couldn't discard it from time to time. Was that something you dealt with when planning it?
Very much. There were certain numbers where I specifically did stage it by specific chess moves, so that characters were, in my mind, the king, the rook, the knight, and so there are elements in some of the numbers that I do specifically stage, so each move is the correct move of that piece. There are others, yes, where we let that become the background and we loosen it up so it's not as rigid and formal. So that definitely was specific choices in individual sections.
You can weave in and out of those rules that you set up for yourself.
Correct.
As they serve the story.
As the story needs, exactly. And there's the conflict of the actual chess game, sometimes that tension and that specific movement, the geometry of it, of following the patterns, does create its own sense of drama or flow. And so I wanted to use that when it was appropriate.
We couldn't move further in this conversation without acknowledging the incredible voices in this cast. I mean, rock operas are hard enough on their own, but this one seems to be particularly challenging whenever I've heard it before. How did you not only find these great voices, because so many of them are local, but how did you arrange it so that they could shine the way they are?
Well, honestly, a lot of them just come equipped with their talent and a sense of the material. They started working, a lot of them that are from New York started working way early on, like months ago when they were first offered the roles. So they've been doing work before we started working with them, which has been a terrific help. Because of the challenges of it and because it is an 8-show week, there's really no way to hide.
They must not be able to talk in between performances
and
to be able
it's
to
funny,
do this.
it's hard to get them to mark. Well, some of them. But there's some of them that you're like, you have to mark now. When we're in a rehearsal, you don't need to sing this full out because they're so conditioned, some of them.
And how did you find some, I mean, we know that you go to New York and do
Yes.
casting, but how did you find these local voices? Because
Again, through the auditions here, and the talent pool here is wonderful. But part of our agreement, because of the union, is again, we do have to audition in New York. So then I have at least the luxury of broadening that pool and finding not only the right voice, but the right style, the right character. And it's important to me when I'm auditioning, I watch when I know I'm doing a show where the vocal demands are this extreme. Even at the audition, I will play with each one of them to see how far I can push them.
well, you
because
really do push them in this production.
I need to know that they can sustain and they have the ability and the knowledge how to protect their voice so that they can sustain
Because
an
David
8-show
didn't
week.
modulate any of the arrangements to make it easier.
Oh no, and in fact, some things are a little more difficult. And because of taking out some of these big group numbers, like we had taken out the Decline of France number and the merchandising number, that gives some of the principals a moment to breathe. Now
And they don't have that resting. And I'd forgotten how many of these songs I actually love. I first heard you were doing chess. I'm like, oh, there's 2 songs in there that I really, really love. And then after last night, especially in Act 2, There were so many songs like, oh, I forgot that was in chess. How did you come up with your structure? Because I know we're seeing some songs shift character.
Correct.
Tell me about that.
Again, it was important over all the different versions that I've looked at. The character development is probably one of the areas that would be considered the weakest element, the storyline. Everybody remembers the numbers and the music. So it really works for me. I was trying to define and clarify that storyline better and who the characters were, because you meet them all so quickly at the beginning of the show, so that it does get confusing. And so introducing and moving what we started to call pre-preses as opposed to a reprise, they were pre-preses. We were adding sections, small sections in just to establish the characters better, and then the full number would occur later, but it was just hints of what they are and what they are.
Well, I really appreciate you coming in on your matinee day, just your second day, to tell us a little bit about what went into recreating or reimagining chess for the Arvada Center. And I had such a lovely time tonight. Please tell the cast that we just loved them. They did such great work.
Thank you.
The Arvada Center's production of Chess, a Musical, runs through April 15th. Visit arvadacenter.org for details. The Denver Center Theatere Company's current production, The Great Wall, tells the true story of what happened on a slow news day in Denver. Here's a glimpse.
The Great Wall! The wall comes down!
We go to the news, or does the news come to us? Let's make the news.
You make the news how?
We publish a story. The three of us. 3 different copy desks at 3 different papers.
Why, Denver is breaking this Great Wall story to begin with. Who are these reporters? What do they want? How do they know it?
You said the wall was coming down. You said it. You said it and you put it in papers and I read it and I believed it.
Stop it. I have a headache.
You can build something true from my lies. Some kind of dream of a new and different future in spite of the failure of your father. That's what I believe.
The Great Wall is playing now at the Denver Center Theatere Company, but we got our first glimpse at last year's Colorado New Play Summit. Here's my visit with the playwright Lloyd Suh and artistic director Kent Thompson. How did you get connected to the summit? Is this your first Colorado New Play Summit?
Yeah, it's my first time here. It's I'm actually just really blown away by the amount of support. I felt really well treated here, like really taken care of, a little spoiled, and
how did you find them, or how did they find you?
Well, I was interested in an earlier play of Lloyd's, and I was hoping we could do it. It turned out we couldn't at the time. And then he actually contacted me and said, well, I have a play about Denver that's set in Colorado. And I went, really? And he told me what it was, and he said, could I send it to you? And I said, you bet. And so he sent the play to us, and I think it was the first thing we picked for this year's summit, actually.
Did you already know then that you wanted to be the director of this play for the summit?
I did. I knew I was interested in this story and this there's a kind of quality, I think, to the script of, it's like the front page. It's like some of those kind of newsroom comedies that came out in the 30s and 40s. And I, that's the kind of material I work well with, so I was really interested to do it.
And how did you happen to pick this true life, true history story that involved our beautiful state in your play? How did you come across this?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny,
Go ahead, tell him.
But it was about like 10, 11 years ago or so. I was in a friend's house, and they have these books called Uncle John's Bathroom Reader, which are just like these books filled with like little.
Somehow I knew you were going to say that.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to admit, but I guess, and I had just seen like a little blurb of that, like sitting in my friend's restroom, and just thought that story was so interesting. So I ended up like doing a little bit more research into it, looking it up online, and finding a little bit more about the story. And then I had written the first 2 scenes of the play for class. and then didn't really know where to go from there. So I just kind of put it in a drawer and didn't think about it for a really long time. But then like a year and a half to 2 years ago or so, I started thinking about it a little more, and then eventually picked it back up again, and sort of found a way into it that was interesting to me, and it turned into this play.
There were two moments in your play that really plucked my heartstrings and my sensibilities, and they both involved the same character, a female character in your play. And we don't often see female characters that well developed in the theater, especially by a male writer. How'd you do that?
That character's, yeah, I mean, I really love that character. Like, she's got a special place in my heart. And I think, like, there's a thing about, I always knew that I wanted her to be the only female in the play, like a female reporter, sort of like in a world of men. So surrounded by all these men. And there was like in particular in journalism at the time, Nellie Bly was a really, like a prominent, sort of really exciting, really amazing person. Like, who did these amazing things with like this kind of immersive journalism of becoming part of the story. And I thought that was just, just such a delicious and kind of exciting character. So I wanted to sort of take elements of what Nellie Bly did and infuse it into this character, who is sort of an aspiring reporter, but not
yet a reporter.
Yeah, not yet a reporter. So just.
I remember what that feels like.
Yeah, I just thought it was a really, just a really appealing to me, a very appealing way to write the character, as having that kind of an engine and that kind of a drive, not only for her own personal life, but also to really represent the engine of how the story unfolds.
Well, I can't wait to see what happens next to this piece. Congratulations on coming to your first Colorado New Play Summit and the success that you obviously must be taking home with you.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it was a real pleasure to be here, and I'm just really grateful to the Denver Center, the entire city of Denver, the entire state of Colorado.
And thank you not just for all the work that your entire team does to put this on, because we are so happy to have this event here for our enjoyment, but thank you for sitting down to discuss this particular piece with us.
You bet. It was great fun. Great to have Lloyd here, and it's great to have all the people here from around the country.
Now you get to go to the party.
That's right.
Thank you.
Can't wait.
Thanks so much.
The Great Wall Story runs through April 22nd at the Ricketson Theater. Visit denvercenter.org for more information. To help us get ready for the return of Wicked to Denver, the Cherry Creek Shopping Center has a special exhibit called The World of Wicked. And many of the merchants are participating in this special event. We get the details from Marketing and Sponsorship Director Dave Dixon. Thanks for letting us come into the mall today, the Cherry Creek Shopping Center, for this wonderful display connected to Wicked coming back to Denver.
Yes.
How did this come about? I know that this is the 8th stop on this exhibits tour.
It is. This is a partnership we have with Wicked. The Taubman Company has with Wicked. This is the 8th stop in centers within our portfolio. They approached us about 2.5 years ago to help build an interactive touring exhibit that we could put in our centers, like as we've done. And we are the 8th stop, and it's just been very well received in each location along the way.
These kinds of things that when they come to Cherry Creek Shopping Center are always fun and exciting, but now you're being connected to outside of your walls to the theater here in town. Is this the first time you're doing something like that?
We are always committed to trying to find opportunities, whether it be exhibits that we bring in the mall exclusively and that solely operate in the mall, or whether it be trying to bring in things that do have tentacles outside the mall. It's all in the spirit of trying to provide incremental customer amenities to our shopper to really enhance the shopping experience here. We're already really proud of the shopping experience we provide with the lineup of merchants that we have in the shopping center, the 160 stores, 40 of which are exclusive to the market. But it's things like this that we think just really go and take us that step further and really just providing a great shopping experience for our customers.
It's not the first time you're doing something connected to the arts. The first one that sticks out to me was the Mask Project, where you devoted space within the center to that display that raised money and sort of supported the community. It was a good corporate citizenship kind of movement.
Yes, and the Mask Project still continues to this day. In fact, it is a mask year, and so that art exhibit is coming back to the shopping center. As a matter of fact, literally almost the day after Wicked leaves, the Mask Project will come. The Mask Project and then all those masks associated with it will be on display the following day.
So we'll have to come back again and again and again.
Sure.
But while this exhibit is here, what are the components of this exhibit?
So in partnership with Wicked, we have created this interactive globe, and for those that are familiar with the shopping center will recognize it as a globe from our former holiday set. We've introduced a new holiday set over the last 2 years called the Ice Palace, but prior to that we had the snow globes, and this is the main globe from our snow globes that were in here a couple years back. We've worked with Wicked, it's fully customized and been retrofitted specifically for them. This is the actual globe that has traveled around from to each of the other 7 locations.
With some of the actual costumes from
Correct.
the production inside it.
Yes, some of the actual costumes and set decor and things like that. There's footage from the exhibit inside, or from the performance playing inside, music playing along with it. Just a great interactive experience. And as they come through, then they come up on this photo wall where they're encouraged to take photos with their own cameras. We have some props for them that they can put on.
They could be Elphaba, they could be Glinda, or anything else.
Whoever they want to be, take photos, post them to their Facebook page, post them to Wicked's Facebook page. Just a really fun exhibit. And then if that weren't enough, we also have an in-center promotion going in where our merchants are participating.
You're calling that Passport to Us. Why did it get that name?
I think by virtue of the way the contest works. So basically what people can do is they can pick up a passport here at the exhibit in Grand Court. There's over 35 participating merchants. They go and visit these merchants. No purchase is necessary. You need not be present to win. All you need to do is visit 5 of the participating merchants. They will stamp your passport. And once you have 5 stamps, you bring it back to Grand Court here, place it in the cauldron, and once a week, so there's 4 winners. Once a week we draw a winner and they win one of 4 prizes, and the prizes are filled with merchandise from all the participating merchants. And each gift package, if you will, each gift package of prizes is worth over $600 a piece.
And I think that while they're here in the display, they can actually pick up Wicked merchandise as well.
Correct. So this is one place where they can buy anything from Wicked branded water bottles, Wicked branded keychains, a T-shirt, and even a commemorative program.
And I think they can actually get the CD so they can be prepared for the performance.
As well as the CD, that's right.
And it's easy to find because it's right where Santa usually is, right next to guest services.
Correct. Right next to guest services, right out in front of Neiman Marcus, and you are corrected, right where they would typically find Santa Claus.
Well, I'm always delighted to have a reason to come to visit Cherry Creek Shopping Center, and this is just one more delightful one. Thanks so much for telling me about it today.
Thanks so much for having us, or for coming to see us.
We get more details about Wicked's return to Denver from Denver Center Attractions' Heidi Bosk. This is an interesting tie-in for the return of Wicked, the 4th time Wicked's coming to the Denver Center at the Buell. This is an interesting tie-in at Cherry Creek Shopping Center. How did this happen?
Well, it's actually a partnership that goes from a few malls around the country within the parent company of the Cherry Creek Shopping Center. And we're just excited that it's like 3 months of Wicked.
Since this is the 4th visit, why is it that Wicked gets to return to Denver so often?
You know, I think Wicked is one of those Broadway blockbusters that has quite a cult following, in addition to the mass amount of people that still haven't seen it. So I think that every time it comes back, it has so much success because people are coming back again, but maybe their children are old enough to see it now, or this time around, the whole family can go. It's one of those things that I think people will come time and time again, but there are so many people that still haven't seen it that it allows them to have that option. And we're the first market to have Wicked the 4th time.
When the Denver Center Attractions has a major show that comes in like Wicked, and it's visiting here for this long, how does that impact the rest of the activity in the Denver Center?
Well, in terms of the other programming, at any given time, the arts complex can have more than 10,000 people down there.
10,000 people in that complex.
Right, when you're thinking about the amount of patrons that fit in the Better Concert Hall, in the Ellie Calkins Opera House, the venues we have over at the Helen Bond Feast, in addition to the Galleria Theater. You get a lot of people down there at once.
Is there something else about this particular visit of Wicked that you want our viewers to know about? Something special that's coming with this Wicked?
So this go round with Wicked, many people across country are familiar with the benefits that they do for Broadway Cares and Actors Equity Fights AIDS. This time around, they are doing a concert version of Rocky Horror. So it's Wicked Rocky Horror.
Oh my.
And it's happening at the Ogden on April 23rd. And it's something that the company, the cast and the crew, they put together themselves, and they work it all out, they work out the details, and then it's a way to see the stars you see on stage in a completely different light.
Well, I know I'm excited, and I know you are, so I hope that our viewers will log on quickly and get their chance to come and see Wicked while it's at the Buell. Thanks so much.
Oh, thank you.
You won't want to miss Wicked's return to Denver. Visit denvercenter.org for all the details.
That's all for this edition. Remember to join us on Facebook and Twitter. With all that Colorado has to offer, we're here to help you keep it in focus. Thanks for watching. Good night.